So making it repeatable, systems that survive a bad month, because I can tell you from being in this for a couple years now that the momentum, once you lose momentum, it is really hard to get it back. Like when you pause, when you stop, when you fall behind, there you just get this friction and you just start feeling like, oh man, I haven't done a post all week. I haven't done it in 2 weeks. I haven't done it in 3 weeks. And there is a kind of comfort level and a kind of cadence, especially if you're doing video work, where the more frequently you do it, the more of that rhythm and cadence you start to embrace. And I have had lags and lulls in my social media journey where, and I can tell you, if you go to my channel right now, I haven't posted a long form video in over a month. I'm posting shorts because they're quick and easy to do. But right now my business is growing. It's really busy. It's really hard for me to sit down and record long form videos. But every time I have a window where I think about recording a long form right now, because I haven't done it for a month, I start to feel like, is it even worth it? Am I even going to have time to do it? And the little voices and the distractions start talking to you and you just kind of fall off the wagon. And I did go through a period of burnout on my channel about a year in. And I always tell people I had every advantage. I was already an instructor. I was already speaking at conferences. I was already comfortable being on camera. I was already comfortable speaking in public, and I still burned out. And, when I joined YouTube, I actually got monetized in 3 months, which is really fast. Most people do not hit it that fast. But it just wasn't enough. By the end of the first year, I was kind of burned out and I had to take a little break and I had to reevaluate what I was doing and where all the friction points were, because I was having a lot of trouble motivating. So my goal today is to kind of walk you through that. And then I do want to leave the session kind of open towards the end for questions. I am going to show you a couple demos of some tools and things that I'm using today. I simplified them so they won't be too overwhelming, I hope. But just to kind of give you an idea of places where you can go if you choose to do that as you grow. So the 3 broad topics today are going to be: how do I think about my systems? How do I decide what I want to automate? And then the last part is going to be kind of showing you what tools I'm actually using today. So everything that I do with content is a pipeline, because all of your content, you have data inputs, that's your inspiration. And then you have your content outputs, and everything that you build as a system is getting you from here to there, because if you're not publishing, your system isn't working. So every piece of content that I produce goes through these kind of 4 steps. And on the inputs, we always have the inspiration sources. So this is going to be, trend research, news and social media, and especially other creators, because you should always follow people that are in your niche that are bigger than you, because they got big for a reason. So especially, and when you do get depressed about your growth or lack of growth, I've even found like some of the big creators, the really well-known creators, if you go all the way back in time, like Mr. Beast, when he first started, you could find like early videos where he only got like 1,000 views. Or he only got 500 views. Like that happens to everybody. Everybody has to go through that process. All you're seeing when you look at Ali Abdaal or Alex Hormozzi or, these big guys, is you're seeing the end result of the grind of them doing it over and over and over across many months and many years. So do follow the other social media creators. But all of this information is coming in. It's going into my brain, it's rattling around, and I am filtering it based on my audience. And those were the exercises that you did earlier in the course, identifying your audience. What are their pain points? What are their messages? What questions do they have? And everything coming in has to go through those filters, because that is going to determine what you publish. And then within that, there are 2 other separations I make. And one is what is evergreen content, and one is what is reactive content. So reactive content is the easiest thing to do. It's the fastest thing to produce. A news article comes out, it says something provocative, you react to it. You give your take. The people that are following you for your wisdom, for your expertise, they appreciate that filter, because if you are out on social media, you realize that it's a fire hose and you can't pay attention to everything. So your audience, when they follow you, that's a trust signal. They're saying, I trust you to give me good information. I am interested in what you have to say and what you have to offer. And that trust bond that you're creating with your audience means that you have to pick the right topics and you have to deliver the value that they expect. And as soon as you stop doing that, your audience is going to stop growing. And if you are using social media to generate revenue and leads for your business, it's going to stop. It's going to slow down if you lose those trust signals. So evergreen content is the content that lives forever. All of my videos, if you go to my channel, any video that has over 100,000 views is evergreen content. Tutorials, common questions, beginner things, hot search terms, but the information in the video is relevant in the long term. And if I'm going to spend money producing content, it's going to be on the evergreen. The reactive content is cheap, it's quick, it's easy, it's impactful. You can make people laugh. You can build that social bond with your audience using reactive content, but that is not the stuff that I personally invest in. Okay. And then, of course, does the information align with my brand and my voice? This one is particularly challenging for me because my business has two audiences. I have B2C, where I sell my training courses for programming and technology targeted at beginners, people trying to break into the field, their early career. The bulk of the revenue of my business comes B2B, where I'm building training programs, I'm doing advisory, a lot of AI stuff. That's where the bulk of the money comes into my business today. So I have the challenge of splitting between two audiences. And the way I've done that is the B2C mostly lives on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. The B2B lives on Blue Sky, LinkedIn, and the newsletters. So that's another thing that I have to do as I get all this information in, is figure out, which audience is it for, and does it actually align with my brand and my voice. A good example of a topic right now is the AI, because it's so hot. Well, I'm a technology professional. I love technology. But if you read my LinkedIn feed, I'm pretty critical of AI quite a bit. But I still book AI training and advisory. Now, why? Now, how do I do that? Because my brand voice is being a realist. It's being practical. I reject the hype. And usually when I'm criticizing AI on social media, it's not that I don't think LLMs are useful. I just don't like the way people are using them. I think that they're using them inappropriately. They're trying to use them too much. And that is the brand voice I have been building over time. So when you have a business leader, an executive decision maker who says, hey, we should explore AI, but I don't want some advisor to come in here and tell me that I need to spend all the money and put AI in all the things, because I know that that's a bunch of bunk. That's where my brand voice starts speaking to those people. So that's kind of the filter that's happening. Now, once it gets through my brain, now it needs to get into a draft format. It needs to get somewhere. I need to write scripts. I need to write storyboards. I need to write drafts of my blog posts. Now, one of the things that I do use AI for in my process is the voice dictation, because your iPhone, your computers, they can record your voice, and you can take that audio file and you can throw it into an AI tool and it will transcribe it to text. And the reason I do that is because I'm on the go a lot. I can be on the treadmill, I can be walking around, I can just be out in public somewhere, and inspiration hits me, and I'll just put in my AirPod, start the voice recorder, and I will just stream of conscious. Like, I will literally just vomit whatever's in my brain into that file. And then one of the things AI is actually good at is turning that into text and kind of reshaping it, restructuring it, put it in a reasonable order for me and give it back to me, so that now I can go through it and start polishing it and make sure it's my voice. So AI isn't authoring for me. It's not giving me ideas. It's helping me organize them. It's helping me take that stream of consciousness from my thought and just make it easier to work with because it organizes it. So that's what I mean by voice dictation and AI transcription. And once I go from there, now you get into your scripts and storyboarding, because one of the things you are going to learn on your social media journey is that you need a good hook, because people don't have good attention spans anymore. You got about 7-8 seconds to hook somebody into your post. So it actually takes me more time to come up with titles and hooks than it usually does for the meat of the content, because I need to grab their attention. They need to understand what value my content is about to provide, and then I have to deliver. And this is one of the things when I look at my posts over time, I have some that do well, some that don't do as well. The ones that don't do well, it's almost always a hook problem. It's not that the information's not good. It's just that I didn't entice people to stick around and go for that. Now, when that happens, what do? I look at the thumbnail, I look at the title. You can tweak things even after publishing. You can change those thumbnails and titles, and you can kind of play with things. I do like that YouTube now does the A/B testing for the thumbnails, so you can put up multiple thumbnails and it'll see who clicks on what, and then eventually it will go with the thumbnail that gets the most clicks and the most engagement. That's a really nice process. But that is where I spend all of my time in the scripting and storyboards. This is the heaviest part right here. And then you have refine and launch. Now, early on, you're probably refining your own content. You're putting your own graphics in. You're probably picking up some design skills. You might be pulling stock images off of like Unsplash or some other free resources. I am not very artistic. I'm very good at tech. I'm very bad at art and colors and fonts and things like that. So one of the things I did early on is I did hire a video editor. And that's somebody who has access to my stack. We have a Dropbox folder. I throw my raw content up there, and that person over time has learned my brand and learned my values, and they're the ones that polish all the videos. So when you see the shorts and you see all the floating text and the engaging stuff happening, that's not me doing it. I'll write down ideas for what should be on the screen for certain points to help them along, but that is a relationship that I built with another human being for them to do that. And if you are a busy professional, that is one of the first places where you are probably going to outsource is the post-production. Because that is very time consuming. Has anybody edited their own videos yet? Like, have you tried to do it? Yeah. How long did it take you? You're muted though. I can't hear you.
My problem is that I'm a refiner. So I constantly oh, let me fix that. And then I look at the next day, that's terrible. Let me change it to this color. I need to just let it go.
Absolutely. And you'll go down this huge rabbit hole, Yeah. So I run into that too. I've also found that I'm really picky about I don't like hearing my own voice, which might be surprising to some people that know me, but I really don't like hearing my own voice on camera, on audio. So I am not the right person to do that editing, because I am hypercritical about myself. So you'll do that. The other thing you want to refine is your metadata. So that's your title, that's your description, the keywords, the hashtags, things like that, so that the algorithms can better find your audience and your people and promote them. And then the other thing that I outsource, that one of the few tools that I will recommend to people early on, is a tool that will publish to multiple sources at the same time. Because when I create a short, that same short goes to YouTube, it goes to TikTok, it goes to Instagram. I don't want to have to log into 3 platforms and schedule the same content at the same time. And there are aggregator platforms. The one I use is called Vista Social, but there's lots of them. But it'll go in there and you can connect all your social media accounts. You can put all your posts in advance, and then you can schedule them to go on a certain day and time. And my team, the way I work, is I try to keep a couple weeks of content queued up in advance. And then the reactive stuff, I can just go in and post it as it happens. But I always have like 2 weeks in the queue. I always joke with people that know me. If you see a LinkedIn post come from me at like 6 in the morning, I don't get up that early. That was cute. That was scheduled. So, but it is the right time of day because the European people are getting off work. The American people are just getting started. I have just found that posting between like 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. in the morning on LinkedIn, for me, the data says that works really well. So those are all things that we're doing in the refinement section. Oh, wow. That just rolled all over the place. So try to stay a few weeks ahead. Your productivity, your motivation is going to ebb and flow. That is natural. Nobody is on all the time, but if you have that booked in advance, if you have that buffer, then if you have a bad day, you can just take the day off. You don't have to make content every day because you kept up on it. And on the converse side, if there is a day when I wake up and I have a lot of energy and my brain's really firing, I'll crank out a ton of content. Like I'll be really hyper productive. And then, this is just how I work. I ebb and flow. And I think most people are like that. Does anybody have any questions about that before I move on?
Yeah. What was the name of that platform and how much does it cost?
Vista Social. I'm not sure how much it costs. I think it costs like $200 a year for my team, but I'm at the point where I have people helping me. So I had to pay for more user seats. But I think the base plan is not that expensive. It's $10, $20 a month for the base plan. But shop around. I haven't shopped around in a couple years because I got my stuff on that platform, and now it's not convenient for me to take the time to move. So there are a lot of platforms like that, though. So a key concept in my workflow is low friction capture. Because the ideas that come to me, they don't wait for me to be at the desk. They don't wait for me to have my tools open that track all my documents. I'm on the go. I'm on the treadmill. I'm going for walks. I'm out at events. So that's where that voice transcription stuff really pays off for me, because I can just record it real quick, even if it's just a short little snippet to remind me later. I get that. I drop it in the log. And then once per week, I go into the backlog, because I literally just have a spreadsheet looking thing that has all my ideas on it and what state they're currently in and whether they're getting close to the draft and production. And once a week, I just go into that backlog, because I just when I'm making ideas, I'm just dumping them at the bottom. And then I go into the backlog and I reorganize them and I prioritize them based on my audience. And I always put the evergreen stuff first. And that's what I work on at the beginning of the week. The backlog is locked, except for reactive content. And that's the stuff I'm going to focus on this week. The highest priority thing, the thing that I think my audience will like the most, is at the top. And I just work my way down the list throughout the week. But I found early on, one of my learnings was I would lie to myself when I had an idea, when I had thoughts. Oh, I'll remember that later. No, I would forget more than half of those ideas. And then I would sit down a day or two later and I'd be like, oh yeah, I had that idea and now it's gone.
Can I ask you a question, Eric?
Yeah.
This is Molly. Hi, thank you. This is so down to earth and fabulous. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I will be like struck by an idea, and to me, like, it feels so profound. And then like I switch contexts, that I'm not listening to that podcast. I'm not walking my dog. I'm not in the car. I'm not at work or whatever I was doing. And then I'm like, that's the dumbest thing ever. Like that. So
yeah.
How do you handle,
just because it goes on the backlog doesn't mean it gets published.
Yeah, I guess I'm just thinking, like, there are things that resonate in different contexts and moments, that when you rip them out of that, like, I'm also a trainer.
Yeah.
And so I know that, like, there's a group, there's energy in a group, and you can say things that may sound profound in a social setting, that if you were just to say them like off the cuff somewhere, everyone would be like, I've heard that a million times. I don't know how you judge that.
That's really interesting that you bring that up, because one of the things I had to unlearn is my desire to be unique.
Mm.
Because you're on social media. The entire world has access to you. There are people that have not heard that before. And I don't have to be, it was really hard for me. I don't have to be special. And when I follow other creators, sometimes they'll have a take and I'm like, yeah, that's a really interesting take, but I disagree. Or, oh, that's a really interesting take, but I can say it better. And that's okay. You don't have to be unique. You got to get over that.
That's great. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, you got to get over that because, and even the people that have heard it before, did they hear it exactly the way you said it? Not all of them. So, just thinking about your audience first. And I struggle with that a lot. I'm like, oh, there's a million tutorials, and my number one video is my Git tutorial. That's a source code thing for developers. Everybody uses it. It's ubiquitous. That's one of the reasons why the video did well, is that everybody who wants to be a software developer has to learn this tool. And there's a million videos on YouTube about it, but mine was better. So it took off. I don't have to be unique. But yeah, it was really hard to let that go. So thank you for that. That's really good. Really good point. But yeah, prioritize the backlog. Like, yeah, when you do have those ideas and you're excited about them, you throw them in the backlog, you come back to it later and you're like, yeah. One of the things I do is the minute that I feel like it's not something I want to work on, it's gone. I clip it from the backlog. It goes out the bin in the back of my brain and I don't think about it anymore. I do find that in social media that motion is just better than no motion. Like, I would rather put out something that isn't perfect than put out nothing at all. And a lot of the people, and I can tell, looking at Bedford, looking at the people that are in the community, a lot of us are really high drive and focused, and we want to do things. And part of that personality, I think, makes us err a little bit on the side of perfectionism. And the world is not generally holding us to that quality bar. Not saying you should put out bad content, but the bar in your brain is usually much higher than the bar that your audience has for you. And over time you just kind of relax and you start to get a feel for what your audience will and won't like. And you evolve. So, but the only way to find out is to post. It's the only way you get the data. So a key point here is automate when you earn it. What am I looking to automate? I'm looking for tools that help me with tasks that are repetitive, stable, and they're eating up time that is better spent elsewhere. So a couple things that I use now, because I am technical, I don't pay for a lot of SaaS software anymore. I have a Linux server that I rent in the cloud, and I install free open source software for a lot of my stuff. So like for asset management, this is where I'm doing, all my scripts. This is where I'm doing my blog post, ideas, data, links, articles, pictures, memes, things like that. And I use this piece of software called DocMost for that. And most of the people listen to me probably won't know what DocMost is because it's free open source. It's Notion. It's just free. Okay. Email automation. I have a tool called Mailgun. This is going to let me build lists and campaigns. It handles unsubscribes. It handles spam. It keeps me honest. And that is what I hook all of my automations up to. So like when you sign up for my newsletter, you get emails through this Mailgun tool. I can tell you, I was previously on software called Kit. If you've ever seen Kit or like MailChimp, there's a lot of different email automation tools. Kit was costing me several $1,000s a year. Mailgun cost me $15 a month. But that's another place where managing the lists, managing the campaigns, if you do have a global audience, they have the GDPR in the EU, the right to be forgotten. So if somebody sends a GDPR request, I got to purge them from all of my records. That is the law, and I follow it. But that's a very manual process, and it's just something that if you get a couple of those a week, you end up spending 15-20 minutes of time doing that. So I started putting in tools to just kind of automate that. So if somebody clicks unsubscribe, Mailgun just handles it. If I accidentally send that person an email in the future, the suppression list on Mailgun is just going to ignore that email. It's not going to send it out at all. So I'm not going to get in trouble. Orchestration, I use a tool called N8N. I'm going to show you a demo of this in a few minutes, of a simplified demo of something that I do with that. But that is an automation tool. You set up like triggers and workflows and different branching pathways, and you can automate things. Like I said, I'll show you that in a minute. And then publishing, I mentioned Vista Social, same content, different platforms. And one of the key things for your growth is to reuse your content. If you make a long form video, I guarantee there are 10 shorts in there. You just need the editor to go in and clip them and polish them and move them around. In fact, most of the shorts on my channel are actually drawn from my long form videos. So I didn't record those separately. And especially early on, as you're getting comfortable with the camera, just sit down in front of the camera and just hit record and just let it run. And just start talking, just start, gesturing and get excited and just go from topic to topic to topic to topic. And then, my poor video editor, I'll just send them a dump of, 40 minutes of me just rambling and they chop it up, find the good stuff, add all the effects. That's time that I don't need to spend. So definitely think about anything that's long form, take it to shorts. And if you have a blog or a newsletter, your newsletter post is really close to being a script. You can pull script content out of those blog posts, repurpose them into videos. I do that all the time. So, and I used to worry when I first started doing that, I used to worry that people that were following me were going to get sick of seeing similar content across the different things. But I did learn that for my audience, at least, if somebody follows me on TikTok, they're not following me on YouTube. So they don't really see the duplicate. I've never had anybody complain about duplicate content across my platforms. Not one time. So I just don't worry about it anymore. The one thing I don't automate is the thinking and the relationships. Every time I respond to a commenter, every time, I interact with my community, it is me. I never outsource that to AI or even ghostwriters. Like, I do not outsource that. When you are early, it is a privilege to be able to speak to everybody who comments and make them feel seen. That is something that will help you grow, is being approachable and being accessible to your audience and treating your audience with respect. As you get bigger, you get thousands of comments, you're just not going to be able to do that anymore. But every single post that I make, if people comment, I at least try to heart it if it makes sense, just to give them a signal that I saw it, or I do respond to the things that are interesting or relevant to the community. So definitely stay engaged with your audience and feel approachable, feel like a human. And in this age of AI, as we're getting more like AI generated content out there, I can tell you that I have started a little less polish in my videos and things like that, because I'm finding that the audiences, the human audiences that I'm trying to attract, they are appreciating more gritty, like realness. So I used to do a lot of like B-roll clips and things to kind of spice up my videos. I'm really scaling back on that now, just because people are seeking authenticity, and I'm seeing that a lot. So resist the temptation when you get busy, to just have AI generate something or just throw in the standard stock image. I mean, I've been there. I have a lot of B-roll, standard B-roll in my early videos. It made no difference in my audience. In fact, I do better with less of it and just being the real me. Any questions or comments about that? Anybody in their journey seeing that trend as well, just being more raw? No. All right. The one thing I did learn over the last couple of years, and this is just from a business and a social media perspective, is that you pay tax for everything you don't know how to do yourself. So even if you're not going to be doing your editing, you should learn enough about editing to be dangerous. You should, if there are tools that you want that are very expensive, you should take the time to see if there are alternatives, especially in the self-hosted software community, that you could learn to do on your own. And I can tell you in the last year, I've cut $12,000 off of my business costs around my social media just by setting up a server and just taking the time to use my IT skills to configure these things and set them up so that I don't have to pay somebody else to do it. And especially in the AI space right now, the token prices are starting to go up. Using AI is going to get more expensive, but you can have a local AI. Do you know how to set that up? Do you know how to make it work? If you don't, you have to pay whatever Claude is charging. If you do, you can save a lot of money. And I think that delta is about to go up a lot. And every dollar that I don't have to spend like that is a dollar that I can put into marketing. It's a dollar I can put into advertising. It's a dollar I can put into hiring virtual assistants to help me with things that I need humans to do. So a lot of that revenue, a lot of that workflow, you want to be investing it into growing your business. You don't want to be throwing it down, a SaaS tool chain that you could eliminate. So, okay. So how do I decide like what I'm going to automate? So the first thing is it a differentiator? So what are the differentiators? Why do people follow me? Well, they follow me for the way I communicate. They follow me for my knowledge and my experience and the fact that I am very direct and honest about certain things and how I feel. I will never automate any of that stuff because that's what makes me me. That's what makes the channel special. If it's not a differentiator, like what tool do I use to post to multiple platforms at the same time? That's an automation candidate because nobody cares how the video gets to where it's going. They care about me and the content. So right away, I just asked, is what I'm about to automate something that makes me special? And if it's not, fine. If it is, I don't automate it. The second thing is, do I understand it? A lot of people mess this up. They will automate something because they don't understand something, and then they see a tool that will help them with the thing they don't understand, and then they buy it, and then the tool doesn't work. The tool actually ends up costing you more time because you don't know how to configure it, and then you have errors or, things are just going to go wrong. I had a friend in social media who decided to get a bot to respond to posts and try to upsell people on their Instagram account. The bot wasn't tuned correctly. It was making offers to people that were making comments that were not buy signals. So he started annoying his audience with that tool because he didn't know how to tune it properly. He didn't know how to limit it properly. And he thought it would save him a lot of time. And all it did is cause him frustration because people were complaining and people were not, signing up and following his channel, and people were actually leaving. So it's a double-edged sword. If you don't understand it well enough yourself, you can't automate it. You're not going to do a good job. And then the last thing is, will it actually provide ROI? And for me, a lot of that is reducing friction. I have limited time. I'm a business owner. You guys all have limited time. You have families, you have businesses, you have all these commitments. The only thing I care about for automation is if it actually reduces friction for me. And does it get me to my goal? A big one too is, does it fit the way you work? Because one of the big mistakes I see people make with software and automation in general is they will get enamored with the idea of a tool, but the tool works in a way that isn't conducive to their workflow. And they'll say to themselves, well, I can change how I work to fit with this tool. And changing your behavior is a lot harder than just doing a different process. So a lot of people I see, they'll buy these tools, they have good intentions, but the friction of changing their behavior is so high that they end up just not doing it, and then the money they spent on that tool goes to waste. And if it doesn't fit the way you work, you're not going to use it. And if you're not using it and you're paying for it, what are you doing? You could be putting that to better use building your audience. So where am I heading right now? I am a little bit in flux because of the AI and the algorithm changes. The algorithms are always changing. So you are going to have to figure that out and respond to things that change over time. But I am automating towards owning my relationships instead of feeding the algorithms. And this is something some of the other mentors and I talked about, and I really agreed with them, is all of your likes, all of your views, all of those statistics, they're empty. Those are novelty. Those are just, they make you feel good, but they're not important. I would rather publish a video or publish some content on LinkedIn for my B2B clients that only 15 people saw, as long as all 15 of those people were potential customers. I've had posts go viral that have thousands and thousands and thousands of comments and views, and none of those people are my customers. They're never going to buy from me. They're not buyers. So yeah, that feels good. I kind of went viral. People noticed me. I got attention. Yay. But it didn't make me any money. You know, and I'm putting in all this effort on LinkedIn to grow my business. That's why I'm there. I enjoy making content. Don't get me wrong. It's not a labor that I don't enjoy, but I'm trying to grow my business. I'm trying to make connections. I'm trying to work with good and interesting people. So when I go look at a post and it did really well, but it didn't move the needle, I don't see any signups or calls. That's not a good post. It's good for LinkedIn because they got the clicks, but I don't get paid for those clicks. I'm not here to help LinkedIn. I'm here to help me. And that's just a mindset you need to change, because early on it is really exciting. Your first couple posts, they get nobody watches, and then you get 50, and then you get 100. And I remember those days still, because it was only a couple of years ago. I was so excited to get 500 views on a video. If I put out a video now that does 500 views, I feel like a failure. And it's just weird how your perspective changes as your channels grow. So just be kind to yourself, and really just remember that those views and those likes, especially when you're doing it for a business purpose, those are vanity metrics. They don't matter. They don't matter. The only thing that matters is how many people reach out to you and how many people you can start relationships with. That's what's important. Okay. So automate towards owning the relationship. I don't trust the algorithms anymore. They're putting a lot of AI. I hear people complaining that they can't find my posts, that the videos aren't being delivered. So one of the things I am doing over the next 12 to 24 months is kind of building out my platforms so that I own the data, so that I can reach out directly to the people that are following me. So that if the algorithm changes or something happens, that doesn't cripple my business. I don't want to be dependent on TikTok, who almost got banned and then got bought by, who was it, Oracle or one of them. You know, I don't want that determining the fate of my business. So a lot of my posting now is shifting to get people off of the LinkedIn platform and off of YouTube and into my platforms, so that I always can reach them and I don't have to worry about it. And that is a challenge, because some of the algorithms now, if you try to direct people off platform, they suppress your post because they don't get paid for that. But again, my perspective is, even if they suppress me, if I'm bringing a handful of people off the platform into my garden, that's worth it. That's worth it. in the long run. Does that all make sense? Okay. You want to see some tools? All right. So I'll show you a couple tools. The first one here is called Open Web UI. This is running on a computer in my house. So I have a Linux server across the wall. This looks like ChatGPT. And there are a lot of open source models out there that you can just download them. And if your equipment is powerful enough to run, you can run this all locally. You don't pay for tokens, and you're not limited in the same ways you are on the other platforms. So I'm just going to show you that real quick, just because it looks and feels like ChatGPT, and it takes about 20 minutes to set up if you know what you're doing. It's not a big deal at all. It's not magic. But the one I think that most creators will be interested in is one called N8N. So N8N is an automation tool. And I went ahead and I set up a very simple automation here, just so you guys could see kind of what's possible. Now, I talked about friction in the ideation. It takes a lot of time for me to go through Reddit, to go through social media, to scroll through all those posts. And that's time where I could be relaxing. That's time when I could be generating content on my own. And it's very wasteful. So what I've done in the background is I've set up a lot of automated jobs that will go and grab data from social media platforms. And this is just a very basic example. I'm a technologist. I set up a node that will query Reddit. It will query the technology subreddit every day. And it will pull the first 25 of the top posts every day. It pulls that data down into this software. And then I wrote some JavaScript code. I'm not going to make you read that, but I wrote some JavaScript code to kind of reformat it and make it ready for AI. And my AI server here on OpenAI, I can message that directly from this tool. So I give it a prompt, I tell it what I want, and then I feed the data in to the AI. Now, what am I asking it to do? Now, this is way shorter than my real stuff because it's just an example, but you're my social media assistant. I'm a tech influencer. Here's who my B2C audience is. And these are the things that I am most interested in. And I explain to it what I'm looking for. And I'm going to feed it those Reddit posts. And I'm asking it to go through and return me some formatted data that has all the Reddit posts in it. And it's going to rate my interest, what it thinks my interest should be, low, medium, or high. And then give me the reasoning behind why it thinks that I should be interested in this. So it grabs all those things, runs it through the filter. Now, like I said, I have a real one that's way more complicated than this and way better prompts. But I just wanted to show you an example of what's possible. So it grabs that, it processes it in the AI, it spits it to this JavaScript node where I'm writing some code again. And I'm taking the raw data and I'm turning it into HTML. Why? Because I want it to send me an email every morning that has a list of all the things so that I don't have to scroll Reddit and click around and look for things. It's going to do that for me. And this is a really good use of AI in practice. It's summarizing information that is unstructured. AI is really good at that. It's low stakes. My customers don't see this. My followers don't see this. It's saving me time. And if it's wrong, this is the important thing about AI because it does hallucinate. It does get things wrong. If it's wrong and it misclassifies an article, who cares? It's an inconvenience. If it recommends an article and I click into the article and I look at it and I say, this isn't really up my alley, that's 5 seconds of my time. Who cares? It's low stakes, it's low risk, it's summarization. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to execute the workflow. And the AI is going to take a second because it goes to sleep if I haven't been using it. And it's been idle for about 30 minutes. So that step's going to take a minute. So every green checkbox, it did grab the stuff from Reddit. It reformatted it. It's throwing it into the AI model. The AI model's thinking about it. And then as soon as the AI model's done, you're going to see it kind of go through. Now, I set this up as a manual trigger. You can set up timers. So I can say, do this every morning at 6 a.m. and it'll just do it. It'll just run it in the background. But as soon as this tool's done, as long as it doesn't crash, yeah, there we go. It went all green. So now in a few seconds, I'm going to get an email. And I'm probably going to have to, because I'm sharing my my browser window, it's not going to show up, but let me switch to my other view here. Here's my email client. And there you go. It's from Jarvis. I named it after Iron Man. So Jarvis at skillfoundry.io. Here are all of the posts for the day and what it thinks of them. And you can see it does the high, medium. I told it just to throw the lows out. I don't even want to see them. But I get stuff like this in my inbox every morning from my automation tools. And it's very quick and easy. I start with the highs. If I'm desperate for content, I'll go down into the mediums, but I usually hang out in the highs. And it just filters things down for me so that I can spend my human energy and my expertise responding and weighing in and synthesizing what these posts are saying and what I think about them. There's no value in the research and the polling of the information. There's value in my thoughts. And I think that's a really good use of AI. And those are the types of things I do.